He hit the mark or he was underwhelming in the plans he outlined for the country. Youth unemployment is still a bugbear, stubbornly high. And people are wondering, did he say enough to reassure us that he could fix our ailing economy? Well, joining us for a discussion on this is political analyst Tessa Dooms. Tessa, good morning and welcome. I'm not sure if you watched the president earlier. We dipped into live as he was opening this current session he's having there. Just a week after he did a State of the Nation address, almost now he's meeting these business people to say since 2017, 2018, we speak about an infrastructure investment fund. But as you heard him say now in the studio, he said in that clip, the slow movement we're suffering from. He did say we need to renew and review and reform our policy and regulatory environment and also improve how we work. I mean, could that be one of the things that's slowing things down? Because, I mean, he's spoken about master plans before, and now he's talking about this thing, and he's saying, yeah, we're slow.
Absolutely. I think the State of the Nation address was definitely an economy address. I think there was very little about the social spend of the country and the social welfare of the country. There's a little bit about education, but in the main, and even if you saw the picture the day before, he had all of his kind of economic cluster ministers with him writing that speech. So it was definitely a deep dive into the economy. And I think if you think about what he's saying today and who he's meeting with today in the infrastructure fund, a lot of that speech was about economic infrastructure. So there was, of course, a lot about Eskom and energy, but also questions around spectrum and the technical support for getting us more connected with the world and with each other in the world. And I think that's a big gap on the continent, but particularly in our country as well. Which will also help us reduce the price of data and stuff like that. Absolutely. So that's a big part of it. It didn't mention data specifically. But of course, there's a lot of other infrastructure things that he didn't say a lot about in that speech. So there's a water crisis that we know about in the country, and there's clear infrastructure challenges when it comes to water. So the question about where water is situated in relation to people, where there's a lot of water but there's no infrastructure, so people are digging their own boreholes if they can. And so there's a water crisis that definitely this infrastructure fund and what he was speaking about in the State of the Nation really needs to address.
So should we sort of see this meeting, for example, this morning in Cape Town with the business world around infrastructure investment as one of his ways of trying to fast track and put into motion what he promised last week?
Yes, I think it is definitely part of that plan. Like I said last week, it needed to be a workman-like speech, and I think it was closer to that than we've had from this particular president before. So there was a lot of projects last week. If you were listening carefully, he was like, there's this project and this project, to the point that we were talking about a project management office in the president's office, which we haven't had before. So he's clearly
is that a good thing?
Is
that a good thing to have a project management office in the presidency?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword in that what could that one office deliver on vis-a-vis the entire infrastructure of government?
I'm asking this, Tessa, to be fair to you, because you were not in the studio when we went live to Cape Town. He also spoke about this infrastructure investment unit that's going to be based in the presidency.
Absolutely.
Now it looks like everything is going to the presidency.
Yeah, I think this is a president who wants to be seen to, if all else fails, I have delivered. And I think that the double-edged sword with that is, does the capability of the broader state suffer or win as a result of that? If you think to the Mbeki era, what the Mbeki era had, which was highly criticized, was, for instance, a policy unit that was trying to drive policy from the president's office, was directing traffic. And that traffic then goes into the rest of the infrastructure. What this looks like is the work will be done inside the president's office, which then begs the question, what do the ministers and the ministries and the departments that are resourced and are taking up a lot of space and place and time and money, what are they going to be contributing to these plans?
Okay, now that's on the economy. And linked to that is the issue of youth or youth unemployment. Do you think there was enough given by the president last week to make our young people think, okay, this country is going to give us jobs, is going to help us, and we're going to have a better future?
So the president definitely spoke about youth in this speech a lot. He is a president that has acknowledged that youth need to be at the center. I think yesterday his Monday note for the week was also around youth. I think the stuff around youth unemployment particularly, there were these six projects that he spoke about within, again, the office of the president. And I think while they are good projects, some of them are not new. And especially something like the Yes Project, why did we not hear about where we have come? This president has been talking about youth unemployment for 2 years and not giving us feedback on what have these measures. So even the Job Summit work is related to those 6 things that he's going to be doing now. Where's the progress? So he had an opportunity to give us an update, and he didn't. And he had an opportunity to give us way more detail around what targets should we reach. And I think he's become much more reticent about giving targets around youth unemployment, because he has been criticized from going 1 million in 3 years to 2 million in 10 years. So where are we now? I don't think we know that. Even though we know there are plans, we don't know what the targets are.
So a bit of a miss there for the president. We're going to end our discussion there, Tessa, but don't go anywhere, because we're going to Parliament now, and you're going to be interested to listen in here, because currently in Parliament we understand the CEO of ESCOM, which was also mentioned a lot by the president in his State of the Nation address, the whole energy situation in our country. That's Mr. Andre de Ruyter, is currently briefing a parliamentary committee. Let's take you live there now.
Colleague, our Chief Procurement Officer, Mr.